Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair. And tax season, so, best to review what I've got for a bit. But don't worry, there's plenty on the back burner right now, such as Gremlins 2. Released in 1990, a full 6 years after the original, Gremlins 2 sought to capitalize on the surprise popularity of Gremlins. Well, after said popularity had already died down quite a bit. But hey, it wasn't released solely to make tons of money. It's also released directly adjacent Dick Tracy to make sure that that movie didn't make tons of money and kind of take the box office record away from the previous year's Batman movie. But hey, it's not all about money here. Gremlins 2, for instance, is about gremlins. Gremlins who infest a super high-tech office building in New York City, severely fucking up its ability to make money. However, while the movie takes time to explain how the gremlins got there, most of the important characters from the previous film also just so happen to be there. I guess Kingston Falls is like 20 feet from Manhattan or something. But anyway, let's take a look at Gremlins 2, The New Batch, and see if the sequel improves on the original in every conceivable way. Or just the operating budget. The movie starts out on the animated Warner Brothers logo.
Stop the music! What's up, Duck?
They actually brought Chuck Jones out of retirement to do this segment. I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with anything, but nice. Anyway, the movie proper starts in New York, which is the location of the Chinatown market Mr. Peltzer went to in the last movie. Either that or the shop moved, considering this time the entrance to Mr. Wing's Emporium is at street level instead of down a flight of stairs. But either way, Forster, played by Robert Picardo, shows up at Mr. Wing's shop to give him a message from Daniel Clamp on high-tech VHS cassette in stereo where available.
Now, Mr. Wing, you're attached to your business. I appreciate that. I'm attached to my business. I develop the biggest buildings in New York.
Played by John Glover, and it's plainly obvious that Daniel Clamp is meant to be a fictional version of Donald Trump for this movie. Yet not once in the entire running time do they depict him as a raging, racist, sexist, homophobic bigot. Funny thing, that. It seems he has ideas for renovating the holy motherfuck out of Chinatown, and just needs Mr. Wing to sell his old shop to Mr. Clamp. Naturally, the wise old man refuses.
I'm sorry. Please tell Mr. Clamp that the answer is still no.
But thanks to being a semi-important side character, Mr. Wing's cough is enough to let us know that he's not going to survive the next 5 minutes of film. They leave the TV at the shop as a parting gift, however, allowing Gizmo to spend a bit of time reviewing Rambo First Blood Part 2, before we suddenly jump 6 weeks later, and wouldn't you know it, Mr. Wing is fucking dead. This means Mr. Clamp can completely ignore the mountains of priceless relics lining the shelves and bring in the motherfucking demolition crew. Don't worry, you just don't want to get them wet or leave them in direct sunlight. The rules don't say anything about smashing the motherfuckers. I actually think that's covered in the warranty. Not only that, at least for the next minute, it seems like direct sunlight isn't so bad for Gizmo either. But without his home, he's forced to wander the streets of New York.
Well, Lewis, it's like I've always said. If you want to find something weird, you have to go downtown.
Mogwai surviving a bright-ass day. Yeah, it's pretty fucking weird. I know he's in an alley, but it's noon. Never mind the fate of Gizmo, we gotta jump over to Billy and Kate, who have moved to New York to work in the Clamp Tower. They spend the first lines they have establishing they're engaged to be married, and also Dick Miller wasn't killed in the last movie, just in case you missed the radio broadcast in the end where they said the same thing. Also, about Clamp Tower.
A revolution in revolving door precision and efficiency. Please be careful in stepping in and out.
Seems that Mr. Clamp has a Peltzer-esque attraction to useless gadgets, and just as much of an apathy for quality assurance. They're also not getting paid particularly well here, which has put their marriage on hold for the time being. But that's where Billy's hard work comes in, under the heel of his boss, Marla Bloodstone, played by Haviland Morris, who really hams up the New York accent for being a Jersey girl.
They just have a few
That
minor...
courtyard looks cold. It'll be better with the trees.
Are they going to plant trees there?
No, but you're going to draw them.
Well, as long as we're going for fantasy architecture here, why not just throw in the fountain of Cool Whip? The movie takes extra time to establish how much of a hard-ass this work environment is. There shall be no potted plants, no unauthorized aesthetics of any kind, and no enjoyment in this workplace whatsoever!
The attack of the octopus people. That's tonight's movie.
Which doesn't seem to pan out from floor to floor. I'm getting mixed messages here. This would be Grandpa Fred, played by Robert Prosky, obviously taking more than a few cues from Grandpa Munster, though he was played by Sandy Barron. Fred here hosts an Elvira-esque classic horror showcase, which sounds fucking awesome to me, but Fred had other desires for life.
I went into broadcasting. I thought I was going to do news, public affairs, something meaningful.
Hey, devoting your life to watching movies is a fine aspiration, thank you very much.
I don't even have a gimmick.
Well, sir, I have the best hair. And if that's not good enough, there's always the fan-base splitting mustache to fall back on. Aside from his tale of woe, Frank also exists to establish other important plot points for later.
There's a research laboratory upstairs. Genetic research. Fooling around with animals.
What kind of idea is that? I mean, imagine, just hypothetically, if the building got besieged by malicious little demons. Imagine what they could do in such a place. What kind of stuff is up there? Well, the movie wastes no time showing us. First and foremost, we've got Dr. Catheter, played by motherfucking Christopher Lee.
I've got rabies. And I'm supposed to get the flu this week.
Well, I think we have the flu up backward.
Could I have that, Peggy?
Okay, so downstairs you got a guy dressed like Grandpa Munster, who wasn't. And upstairs you've got the fucking Hammer Dracula in a lab coat. To be fair, he gets some of the best bits in this movie regardless.
Hello, Doctor.
How's the cloning work coming along?
Really well, Doctor.
Introducing the clones, Martin and Lewis, played by Don and Dan Stanton. Pointless trivia time, they're twins! Moving on. They're also the ones that went downtown earlier and scooped up Gizmo, which they're very excited to show to the good doctor. Not for its unique, undocumented form or potential to treat and cure diseases, but rather...
I'm willing and I'm able, so you better come and go with me. He likes this music.
Yes, it's his favorite.
Tell him more about free.
He was also supposed to be dancing to Billy Idol, but they couldn't really get the rights to that, so some fat domino, it's good enough. In fun and games, though, they're serious scientists with serious work to do. That'll require blood work, tissue samples, and lest we forget some good old-fashioned vivisection. However, recognizing Gizmo's singing from the whistling of the delivery boy leads Billy up to the genetics lab to find out Gizmo is being held captive. So a quick swipe and he's home free, with a little diversion, of course.
Theodore, how did you get out? Alvin, put down that DNA.
And that's how the chipettes were made. Now that Billy's got him, he quickly learns that the lab wasn't the happiest place Gizmo's ever been, and he plans to take the fuzzy thing right home. Later, gotta finish his workday after all, and besides, Mr. Clamp has arrived in person to see how his business is running.
Let's lose those elm trees, though, Bill. People see elm, they think Dutch, disease.
Usually I think of an awesome killer in a long-running franchise. And a very painful, stressful summer. As Mr. Clamp is oh so impressed with Billy's concept art, Marla insists Billy join her for dinner. As she isn't taking no for an answer, Billy tells Gizmo to just hold on and someone else will come. Of course, that means Gizmo says fuck it and escapes immediately, before Billy even gets a chance to tell Katie to retrieve Gizmo.
No!
Why not?
Are you kidding? What if those things start running around New York?
No, honey. There aren't going to be any of those things, I promise. Just obey the rules, that's all.
Oh, the rules.
Except the sunlight one. That's kind of hit and miss anymore. But the water one is still pretty damn important, so when the janitor, played by John Astin, tries desperately to fix the water fountain... Not only was Gizmo entrusted to Billy's care and exposed to water, but it actually happened even faster this time. These offspring of Gizmo are a bit different this time around, though. Rather than the one with a mohawk being the only one with recognizable characteristics, all of them have one quirk or another, making any of the group easy to pick out. Despite this, when they force Gizmo into the air duct and lock him away, Katie doesn't seem to understand that the butt-fuckingly crazy one she finds is obviously not Gizmo.
Billy said to make sure and feed you before midnight, but he didn't say what kind of stuff you like to eat. Some mashed potatoes? Oh, God.
The blood of the innocent! After coming home from his long night of hard work, Billy at least very quickly points out that this is not Gizmo, and therefore the Mogwai they need is back at work. Also, really quick surprise, the Futtermans show up to remind us they're not only alive, but plot relevant.
Do you know they got Russian guys driving cabs in this burg? I mean, what if somebody got into a cab with a briefcase full of atomic secrets or something like that? Don't people care about that anymore? Seems like... Well,
you know, I kind of miss when people being unreasonably terrified of Russians was a dated reference. Obviously, they can't stay here for the time being, because after all, we've got to get the main events going. As such, when they arrive back at the Clamp building, the place is abuzz with people talking about the strange fuzzy creatures in the food court. It's past midnight, so Billy knows just what to do. First things first, break into the maintenance area and cut off the water valve.
Hold it right there. Get the hell out of there. That's a restricted area. Move it. Come on, move.
looks like I caught me a little terrorist, huh?
A regular water-stopping terrorist. Tell me, do you work for the Dry Bandits?
What's in the bag? Gimme.
I really wouldn't do this if I were you. Yeah, but you aren't me, are you?
Well, the movie seems to explain that situation far faster than I could have even summarized it. Way to go! However, just because he got bit on the face by some crazed monster, that's no reason for the security guard to believe the kid's stories about crazed monsters that bite people. Thus, he's taken down to the pen, and Kate has to cough up his 200 gold bounty to bail him out. This means they spent so long away from the tower, the gremlins are already hatching. But couldn't Kate have just spent the last 6 hours working to stop the gremlins without Billy? I mean, how is he stopping her? Well, I suppose if she had tracked him down and smashed the cocoons already, then we wouldn't have much of a movie to watch now, would we? Much like the gremlins could easily kill Gizmo whatever the fuck they want, and they kill each other left and right without giving a flying fuck, but for some reason they just don't. I mean, when you think about it, it really would get in the way of his heroic acts in Act 3. On the plus side, their experiences in the last movie have made Billy and Kate quickly realize that flashlights are a really fucking useful thing to have around gremlins. So while Kate begins her shift proper, Billy rushes up to systems control to argue with Picardo about why they need to evacuate immediately.
They metamorphose and they form these cocoons.
Peltzer, you're having a psychotic episode. Thanks for sharing it with us.
I'm just thinking about how Picardo played the holographic doctor in Star Trek Voyager. Mainly because he delivered his diagnosis in much the same way. So while they argue over the logistics of the 3 rules, we see Kate Storr has taken her group and excited photographer to the set of Microwave with Marge, starring Microwave Marge, played by Kathleen Freeman, which has to wait a bit more because surprise gremlins in the control room, surprisingly doing very little to mess with the controls just yet. But at the very least, they did remember that the creatures do hate bright light.
Let us ladle up some of our chowder noodles.
See, everyone in show business knows there's nothing milder on the eyes than stage lights. Yeah, the power is fluctuating a bit here and there, and it's darker than it could be, but come on, how often does dim light cause lens flare? About as often as metal in microwaves causing not sparks, but fucking explosions and fire. So remember kids, soup broth and sherry, no gremlin spawn. Emergency sprinkler system, gremlin spawn. At least Kate's there to save the overly enthusiastic photographer, Mr. Katsuji, played by Gede Watanabe. Unfortunately, her idea to run for help in the horrifyingly malfunctioning tower by taking the elevator wasn't the smartest plan. But considering she actually survived it versus the massive gremlins that she took down with her, you know, maybe it was brighter than it looked. More importantly, Mr. Clamp wants this little gremlin problem taken care of. Discreetly. No reason to get the cops involved, so let's keep up with business as usual, such as a movie review of Gremlins by real-life movie critic Leonard Maltin.
Our moviegoers so desperate for entertainment that this kind of trash and cast for fun. Whoa, wait a minute! Oh, this is kidding! Ow! A 10! It's a 10!
I mean, hell, he didn't even have very good things to say about this one. At least everyone's a good sport about it, though. It's time for the big twist of the Gremlins this time around, though. No, not that they're in New York, or that they have more distinct personalities. Remember that genetics laboratory? Well, it just so happens to specialize in potions of change whatever the fuck in whatever way would be interesting on film.
Talk a little bit about what's going on in this room, because I think there are some fascinating ramifications here for the future.
Introducing the Brain Gremlin, voiced by Tony Randall. He's a walking exposition factory, as well as a means to introduce the other genetic monstrosity gremlins, such as Bat Gremlin, who is now Sunproof Bat Gremlin, breaking out of the tower to terrorize the city. Specifically, the Futtermans. Okay, so he scratches his head. I gotta think of a way to make that a joke. That's a real head scratcher there. Oh, fuck it. The point is that badass Dick Miller slams the gremlins down into some wet cement. Normally this would be a minor inconvenience, but in over-the-top movie land it means the creature can land on the cathedral and instantly dry into a spiffy new gargoyle. Anyway, back with the chaos that's transpiring within the tower.
In my laboratory, Force of Life.
Stupid name, I know, but it wasn't my own.
That's funny. Normally that doesn't happen in internet videos. Unsurprisingly, that's because it's part of the movie. The Gremlins fucked with the projector and screwed up the showing of Gremlins 2 so bad, the usher has to go down the aisle until he finds Hulk Hogan to fix the problem.
People paid good money to see this movie. When they go out to a theater, they want cold sodas, hot popcorn, and no monsters in the projection booth.
And there's actually a completely different version of the Gremlins breaking the movie gag for the VHS release. I suppose the version for YouTube would be, well, every day trying to play a video on YouTube. After a short threat with a regrettable lack of lawsuits, Gremlins 2 resumes, where we see that Grandpa Fred realizes that none of the news footage covering the chaos in the tower has any coverage on the inside. So, running out and grabbing the first cameraman he can find, Katsuji, he plans to show the world the truth. We also see the Gremlins getting new forms, such as pure electricity, the Phantom of the Opera, and of course we can't forget the sex change potion.
What a hunk!
But am I the only one that's confused by the fact that we didn't have male and female sex organs on Gremlins? That's not how they reproduced. Attempts to stop the Gremlins from getting into any more secret genetic research don't go so well, as our buddy the Electric Gremlin fucking fries Dr. Catheter, and on top of that, the Gremlins got guns from somewhere. One sip of spider essence later, and we're reminded, oh yeah, Gizmo still exists! More importantly, Mr. Clamp's attempts to keep this under wraps fail spectacularly as Grandpa Fred broadcasts the Gremlins for all to see. Most important of all, though.
Do you have any idea what kind of lawsuits we're looking at here?
Yes, sir, I know, but...
The Electric Gremlin, who's thus far the only one who's actually definitively managed to kill someone as far as I can tell, has come for them. But they don't need him just yet, so they just trap him in the phone and put him on hold for a while. That way, they can discuss the plan to deal with them. Billy thinks that if they set the clocks ahead, they can fool the Gremlins into thinking the sun has set, and kill them all with the hit-and-miss bright sunlight method.
The sun sets at 7:32.
Well, then we should make our move at, say, 4:20. Oh, I like that.
Damn, I don't know if I should question Billy for suggesting 4:20 or Mr. Clamp for being so enthusiastic about it. In order to work, though, Clamp has to get out of the building to trick the creatures into thinking the sun has in fact gone down. This means he gets to use his secret exit, which he leaves wide open, allowing Dick Miller to use it as a secret entrance into the Clamp building. Also, in short order, Billy is captured, and Gizmo uses a few office supplies to make a tiny bow. This means that Mr. Futterman can barge in just in the nick of time to save Billy from the daffy dentist, and while Kate finds Miss Bloodstone encased in webbing, the giant fucking spider gremlin does get in the way of that little rescue plan, but have no fear, Gizmo has been influenced by those violent movies on TV and has come to save the day. Exploding arrows, because rocket launchers are cool, but really hard to explain how they fit in your back pocket. The point is, all the important characters are safe, and they must stop the Gremlins.
Washington didn't give up. Lincoln didn't give up.
Please.
What's wrong?
Oh, don't mention Lincoln. Something terrible happened to me one year on Lincoln's birthday.
Okay, if your uncle died trying to build you a log cabin, I think it's time to just admit you got a fucked up family.
This man with this
Honey,
beard and a hat looked just like Abe Lincoln.
Honey, I really don't think
Except
we've
for
got
the
time for
raincoat.
this now, you know?
So, about that climax! The plan is working beautifully. All the Gremlins have gathered in the lobby preparing to take on New York with the help of a musical number, and now all they need to do is drop the cloth of fake night and kill the monsters with pure blazing sunlight.
Okay, are we ready to drop this thing?
To be fair, Mr. Clamp, at best you'd only take out about a third of them that way anyway. So instead of sunlight and death, outside contains darkness and rain. This means they have to come up with a new plan. Rushing off for the fire hose, the new plan is to get absolutely all the Gremlins soaking wet before they even leave. Also, they can bring this guy back into the picture. Killing them all with amazing special effects. And before they figured out that they could actually pull this shot off, the original plan was to have Mr. Clamp fill the lobby with wet cement. Therefore, sticky ending! The electricity kills the fuck out of every last gremlin, in the same way they'd die if they were exposed to sunlight, which is mildly confusing, but never mind that. Everyone is safe. Mr. Clamp has an epiphany where he wants to build small towns instead of towers for some strange reason, and we find out one gremlin did survive and may reproduce for Gremlins 3. So, now I've got the Ape 6 folder, Wookiee Erotica, and whatever the hell that is. No wonder I'm running short on hard drive space, but anyway, that was Gremlins 2, the new batch. And yeah, it's good. It's just not Gremlins good. The technology at work and the budget this time around are both huge steps up from the first. I'm wondering why this is also a much brighter movie in general. The rule that Gremlins had to stay out of bright light was a clever way to keep the puppets in the dark, where mistakes are harder to see. In Gremlins 2, the visual effects were so much better they really didn't need to worry about that so much. However, while that's all well and good, the movie itself doesn't feel as well balanced as the first. It took a long time before things got off the ground, as the movie spent a while establishing the army of human characters, both new and old, and setting up the somewhat convoluted method of getting Gizmo back to get the Gremlins running amok again. After that, we got plenty of Gremlins, but outside of a few short bits of Gizmo torture here and there, very little to even remind us that Gizmo was in fact in play. Gremlins spent a while letting us get to know Gizmo, and yes, that wasn't as necessary this time, but it's hard to have a star that's hardly on screen. At the end of the day, Gremlins 2 The New Batch is an entertaining ride with great visuals that I think is perfectly fine for fans of Gremlins. It stands apart from the first, but doesn't really do much with that outside of expanding the gags and a little dabbling in genetic engineering that honestly feels less significant than it should. Thus, Gremlins 2 comes in at 3 shocking endings out of 5. It's a fun enough movie, but it feels like it probably wouldn't appeal to as wide of an audience as the original did. But thank you all for watching. I've been Shado. And remember, if a critic doesn't like your movie, kill them! Don't worry, we're used to it.
Now, was that civilized? No, clearly not. Fun, but in no sense civilized.